What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Motorfest. So in this video I will be going over the Liberty Walk playlist challenges. Now there is obviously going to be a good amount here, but do keep in mind there's only two challenges that are going to require you to be in a grand race. So as far as I do know, when doing all of these challenges, there's obviously not going to be any crew ones, which I think we can all agree that's obviously going to be a win. Most people cannot even join a crew at the moment, at least when making this video, but going over some of these challenges, guys, we'll first start off with some of the bottom ones. So first things first, down here, you obviously have to own 5 visual parts. I would probably say this challenge is most likely going to unlock for most people, and it's probably going to be a very easy challenge for that matter. But moving over to the next one, guys, drive for 15 minutes with a street tier 2 vehicle at the max perf level without collisions. So you can basically drive any street tier 2 vehicle around the map, and all you will have to do is drive for 15 minutes, and as long as that said vehicle is maxed out, this challenge is going to be very simple. And then moving over to the other challenge, guys, I would say this one's also going to be fairly simple. Complete 5 escape feats 546 yards above the objective without collision. So for this, you obviously have to use the M4, and not only can you guys not hit anything on the escape, you also have to watch out for the AI, obviously, because my goodness, they can't drive. But you also have to be 540 yards above the set objectives. So, for example, on this, guys, let's say that set escape is 1,000 yards. You will have to get at least 1,546 yards to get one of these done. And of course, you also have to watch out for the AI to avoid a collision. And then for the other two challenges, guys, all you will then have to do is to basically drive for 2 minutes in the top 10 in a grand race. I would probably say this one isn't going to be too insanely difficult, but the most annoying part here is obviously if you do not have the gold edition, you may end up having a lot of issues actually doing this challenge, but the other one, all you will have to do is to basically finish a grand race 3 times in the M4 Liberty Walk. But moving over to the other challenge here, guys, perform 25 high speed on asphalt. So this challenge is actually going to be insanely simple. At first, I was honestly confused, but it turns out, guys, all you will have to do is around 190 miles an hour. And then once you see the high speed thing pop up on the bottom, you will then get one for this challenge. I also do want to mention, guys, you can then slow down to like 165 miles an hour and then speed up back to like 190 and keep getting these over and over. And then moving over to the next challenge, drive from the Waikiki parking lot to Barber's Point Harbor in less than 3 minutes. So I would probably say this challenge is honestly going to be quite confusing because, well, where is that parking lot for that matter, guys? It obviously is not going to be marked. And of course, when you do obviously look for a parking lot, you're most likely going to go, oh, well, that's a parking lot. Turns out, guys, the one you are going to be looking for is actually going to be a parking garage. I know this can be slightly confusing, but luckily it's not insanely hard to find, so Waikiki is actually going to be a pretty decent sized area here in Honolulu, so you guys will also notice the Waikiki landmark here, and or the big lovely wing hotel over here, but the parking garage, guys, is going to be directly in front of this hotel, right over here.
Visualize your next objective and let's go.
And then moving over to the next challenge, guys, drive from Wahiwa to Halewa without collision. So for this, all you will then have to do is drive from these two locations. Do keep in mind, guys, it is insanely strict on the collision. So if you barely touch like a fence and or like a car, you will then have to restart this one. But luckily, there's not going to be like a time limit on it. So it shouldn't be too insanely difficult. Now, there is one thing I do want to mention. The other challenge here is you will have to put custom tires on your car, and you'll have to do 186 miles an hour on asphalt. So if you really did want to, you could do this one and or this challenge at the same time to basically get these done quicker and to knock them out faster. Now moving over to the next challenge, guys, drift for 30 seconds on asphalt with custom tires equipped. So if you are wondering, by the way, the custom tires you put on before for the Liberty Wheel challenge also works on this one, but the difference here is you have to drift for 30 seconds. So the easiest place I found to do this, guys, is going to be the Oahu airport. You basically go around as fast as you can and or drift, and before you know it, the 30 seconds will be over. Now moving over to the next challenge, guys, you will have to do 5 speed traps 62 miles an hour above the objective. So for me, I once again did the one in Honolulu, but you really can head to any of these speed traps of your choice, as long as you're doing 62 miles an hour above the set objectives. So for example, guys, the speed trap there in Honolulu is actually one of my favorite speed traps to farm for like many of these challenges, but that one's going to be around like 130 miles an hour. So you obviously have to aim for around 200, and of course, guys, the second you complete it, you can then retry and do it again. Now moving over to the next challenge, guys, empty your entire nitro gauge 3 times in the event artwork. So for this, guys, all you will then have to do is to max out your nitrous gauge 3 times, and then of course you will have to empty it completely. So do keep in mind, if you guys do a little bit then stop, you will then have to wait for it to be maxed out in order to get this one completed. And then moving over to the next challenge here, guys, win the event 911 Grand Prix in less than 4 minutes. So I would probably say this challenge is most likely going to be fairly simple. Do keep in mind, guys, having your M4 Liberty Walk a bit leveled up is definitely going to make this challenge a lot easier. And now moving over to the next one, guys, get a perfect clean driving score in the event Chasing the Future. I have to admit, guys, this is definitely going to be a pretty frustrating challenge. Like, there is a lot of stuff you can hit and or I guess you can run into. So do keep in mind, you not only have to worry about all of the stuff you can hit like a fence, you also have to worry about the insanely annoying AI as well. So I really do think this challenge is most likely going to be annoying. But for this, guys, I would recommend trying to pass the AI quick. That is most likely going to be one of the easiest ways to do this challenge, because of course the AI do not care, and they obviously love running into you every chance they do get. Do keep in mind, guys, having this on the level 1 difficulty is going to be a must. Now moving over to the next challenge, guys, perform a burn and win the event Kanjo style with an underglow equipped. So for this, you can obviously add any of the vanity underglows to your car. I also left the tires on from the previous challenges, but all you will then have to do is to basically do a burn in the beginning of the event. So the second the race starts, hold down the brake and or the gas for that matter and basically spin the tires. I try to do this for a few seconds, that way you know it does like activate. And then after that, guys, you obviously have to win the event, so I would recommend putting this on level 1. That way the AI are slower, and you can't catch up to them. And now moving over to the next event, guys, perform 5 overtakes without collision with a Windows 10 equipped in any event. So for this, you actually have to use the regular M4. Do keep in mind, guys, the Windows 10 is going to be like any of the vanity items you do own. So all you will have to do is to basically throw one of those on your car, then jump into one of the any events around the map and take over some of the racers 5 times. And then moving over to the next challenge, guys, complete 10 feats with an underglow and or a smoke equip. So for this, you obviously have to add an underglow and or a smoke vanity to your car. And then you can actually go do any of the feats around the map. So you can do like a slalom and or a speed trap. And if you really want to, by the way, you can also farm like one of them just to get this done a bit quicker and move on to the next challenge. And then moving over to the next challenge, guys, I would have to admit is probably going to be the second most annoying challenge in this entire playlist besides the other one, which is obviously going to be the clean driving in the Chasing the Future. But I have to admit, guys, this challenge is definitely going to be on the annoying side because, for one, you obviously do not know when sunrise actually is, so you're most likely going to be guessing while driving the M4. And second, you also have to do this for 15 minutes, and finally at 137 miles per hour. So one of the best ways I found, guys, to at least maintain speeds like this is to head over to the lovely 911 freeway event. I feel like that's like the best location. You can then follow that highway as long as you have to. Now, the big question here is when is sunrise? So I was messing around with this, guys, because obviously it is 15 minutes. Do keep in mind, by the way, the M4 does have a timer inside of it of the time in game, which is kind of odd considering the map doesn't have one on itself. But for this, guys, the time you will be looking for is going to be exactly 5:30 a.m. I did notice every time the timer hits that exact time, you will then start counting down on the clock for the 15 minutes. Now, do keep in mind you obviously have to do 137 miles per hour as well, so if you're not doing that speed, it is not going to count. The other thing, guys, by the way, it is only going to be from 5:30 a.m. to 7:30 a.m. in-game time in order to get this done, so if it's anything past that and or before, you are not going to get any progress on this said challenge. But do keep in mind, by the way, guys, you only have basically a 2-hour in-game window from 5:30 to 7:30 a.m. to do this. So I did test this out, and I basically only got around 4 minutes to maybe 4 minutes and or 20 seconds every time. So regardless of how fast you are, this is going to take at least 3 to 4 runs. Now, moving over to the next challenge, guys, there's actually going to be 2 of them that match this exact one. So for this one, reach a speed of 186 miles an hour in the event Dream Bugatti. So all you will have to do is to basically run the M4. Even if your vehicle is not maxed out, I would say this challenge should be pretty simple. There's also going to be a second one in peak performance with the Acura NSX as well. So all you will then have to do is to basically hit 186 miles an hour in both of these events. Even if you guys do not have a maxed out car, this one should be pretty easy. And now moving over to the next challenge, guys, get a perfect clean driving score in the event Custom Nation. So similar to some of the other ones, all you will then have to do is add that clean modifier on. Do keep in mind, guys, having the event difficulty on level 1, at least depending on that said event, is by far going to make this a lot more simple. But luckily this one's not going to be nearly as bad as the other one. That was basically a nightmare. Now, moving over to the next challenge, guys, drive through 50 checkpoints in any Made in Japan event. So for this, all you will actually have to do is to basically jump into any of the events in that playlist, and of course, basically race through them. So I would say this challenge is going to be fairly simple. Now, the other one, guys, finished 3 races with a max perf level and a Windows tint equipped. So if you guys do have a maxed out Street Tier 2, you can actually add a Windows tint to this car, and then go do 3 of the races in the Made in Japan playlist and get this one done, and also get the 50 checkpoints at the exact same time. Now, moving over to the final challenge here, guys, drive 3.1 miles on racetracks and or highways driving any hypercar with an underglow and or a smoke equip. So I would say, guys, the easiest way to do this one is to jump on a highway. That way you can also go insanely fast and or get the 3 miles done quicker. But either way, if you do want to jump on a racetrack, this challenge is luckily pretty simple. But besides all that, guys, that will basically do it for all of the Liberty Walk playlist challenges here on Motorfest. So I would say many of them are luckily pretty simple. Many of them might take some time to do and or a bit frustrating. Like for example, driving 15 minutes at sunrise might take some time. But overall though, guys, I do think a lot of people are going to like this playlist, at least for the most part. And at least many of the challenges don't seem to be insanely difficult. But if you guys have any questions at all, let me know in the comments below. And as always, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more insight.